Hi there, it's Easter. Today I want to share with you something that will seriously make or break your weight loss journey. If you're someone who's been trying to lose a lot of weight and just not getting there, or trying and gaining the weight back, trying again and gaining the weight back, then you need to watch this video because I'm going to walk you through the biggest mistake I made for years and what I learned from it and how I did finally lose 200 pounds and keep it off. This mistake is so obvious and I really can't understand why I missed it for years, but it's like it had these flashing lights in front of me that I ignored, but it was there the whole time. I just closed my eyes to it because it was a heck of a lot easier, I thought, to do so. The mistake is not being honest with yourself about why you're eating, saying things like, oh, I just love food so much. Oh, I'll just have a little bit, and then you have a bit more. Or I don't have any willpower. It's not in my genes. I can't do it. I don't have the metabolism. Blah, blah, blah. I was 57 when I started my weight loss journey with no thyroid, in menopause, full out taking antidepressants, 3 strikes against me, and I lost 200 pounds. So don't believe your excuses. You're only lying to yourself. So if you're saying to yourself, well, I just can't live without sugar, or it's the only thing that makes me feel better, stop. That's not true. There are so many things you can do that are really going to make you feel better, because the lie is that it makes you feel better. If we're really honest with ourselves and we dig a bit deeper, or a lot deeper, really food is not the problem. The reason why you eat so much food is the problem. And if you can get your thinking around that, if you can get your thinking around, oh, it's my metabolism, or it's genetic, or I'm too old, or 10,000 excuses why. If you could get your head around that and take a deep look at why, and we're going to talk about how to look at that, then you're going to get to the bottom of it and find success that lasts. For years, I was stuck at 350 pounds. I said it was the stress from a very challenging life, but I knew deep down inside that that was not the truth. Something inside me told me that there is a problem bigger than just wanting to eat too much food. Because the truth was, it never was about the food. I was looking for comfort. I was looking to be numbed. I was looking to shove my feelings down my throat, quite literally. And it was about numbing the pain. I had so much pain, unresolved pain, and I didn't know how to cope with it. I didn't know how to resolve it, so I ate. And I ate, and I ate until I was 350 pounds and very unhealthy, very immobile, in a lot of pain in my joints, heart issues, like just innumerable health issues that came up because of my weight. And living that way was not a happy way to live. I had so much remorse from eating so much. I had so much remorse for the pain in my life. I had so much pain that I just didn't want to deal with. I was completely hopeless, and I felt defeated, and I felt I couldn't get out of it no matter how hard I would try, because I was alone in the world and there was nobody else like me, and everybody was disgusted by me and I was disgusted by myself. It was this vicious cycle that I turned to food for. The very thing that was making me bigger, I went to for the comfort of the remorse it gave me when I ate too much. So picture this. I'm feeling bad about a situation. I go grab a bowl of ice cream and another one. One tub later, I'm done. And then I'm feeling, oh no, I promised myself I'd never do that again. Why did I do that? Why don't you have any control, Easter? What's wrong with you, Easter? Oh, you're so dumb. Why can't you do things right, Easter? I beat myself up and I lived in remorse and guilt and shame. And guess what? I'd feel like I needed comfort from that. Again, it was a vicious cycle and it doesn't end. So I want you to ask yourself, when you wander to the kitchen aimlessly, find yourself standing in front of the fridge and grabbing that ice cream or grabbing that big bag of chips or whatever it is that's your go-to, and you're not hungry and you don't have any plans to eat at that moment, and you find yourself digging in and eating anyhow, are you really hungry? Or are you feeding something else inside you that needs to feel numb, that needs to feel buried, that needs to feel like it's not there? Be honest with yourself. If you're covering up pain or shame or sadness or loneliness with food, there is another way out, and there's a way to cope with these things that's healthy. There's a way to deal with these things that will help you through these moments that are so difficult, and you won't need to turn to food anymore because you'll have coping mechanisms, you'll have strategies, and you'll be able to implement these things and watch your weight fall down and stay off. If you're like me, you use food when you're sad, when you're lonely, when you feel worthless, when you're angry with yourself, when you're feeling guilt or remorse, when you're angry with somebody else, when you feel life hasn't been fair. I had so many reasons for turning to food, happy, sad, and everything in between. And if you're being honest with yourself, maybe, just maybe, are you doing the same thing? Does it sound familiar? Because until you face that truth, no diet, no exercise plan is ever going to get the weight off and keep it off peacefully until you resolve the issues behind why you eat so much. Sure, you can lose weight on diets. I did, but I always gained it back because I didn't deal with the why. Why am I eating so much? Sure, exercise and diet can do fabulous things for you, but it creeps back in slowly but surely. You can't ignore the pain without it manifesting in some way. Let's break it down to bite-sized pieces. Yes, pun intended. Why do we turn to food? Because we feel like it eases the pain. We feel like it gives us comfort because we believe the lie that food is going to make us feel better. We think it's going to silence the pain of the past. We think it's going to cover up our mistakes. We think it's going to ease our guilt and our shame and our pain and make us less lonely. I've heard myself and you say food is my only friend. I remember days and nights, or days and nights both on the same day, where I'd say, oh, I'm just going to have a few chips. And the family size bag later, I was still eating and looking for more afterwards, thinking, wow, that ended so fast. And did I have comfort? Maybe for the 5 minutes I was hoarding it down my throat. But did I really feel comfort? Because ask yourself, at the end, after you have that feel-good food that tastes so good and gets on your tongue, and you're like, oh, I love that. And you feel this relief and this little rush of sugar or whatever it is that's your pleasure. You put it down when you're finished and you think, oh, I wish there was more. And then after a little while, it pops in your head. Oh my gosh, what did I just do? I just ate an entire bag of chips, or I just ate a whole tub of ice cream. Oh man, why did I do that again? I promised myself I'd never do that again. Why do I always fail? I felt defeated. I felt like the food had control over me. But the problem wasn't really the food. The food was just the symptom of what was going on inside me, with years and decades of unresolved issues that needed to be brought into the light for a minute so that I could get the healing, so that I could get the coping strategies and the coping mechanisms to be able to heal and be able to release this pain, let go of the past, and move into a happy today. Time after time, this cycle had me for years. It was nasty. It was endless. It's seductive. It's sneaky. It creeps into your ear and you just feel like, oh, just a little bit of. That was my thing, Eddie. Just a little bit. I'll just have a little bit. How many times did I tell myself that lie over and over again? It was lulling. It was numbing. But it didn't take away the pain, because as soon as I finished eating, I started beating myself up again. And then all those negative thoughts, on top of the stress I had had before, or on top of the hurt I had had before, came out like a volcano. And this nasty cycle repeated itself day after day after day. Truly, it was a hopeless and defeated feeling that I lived in. So take a minute and pause. Does this sound familiar to you? Does this sound like it's niggling at you and you're saying, oh, wow, maybe she's onto something there. That sounds like it could be me. Maybe that's what I'm doing. Then I want you to stop the video for a minute right now and take a minute and think about what it is you're feeling when you go to eat. What is it that triggers you? Is it stress? Is it loneliness? Is it sadness? Is it anger? Is it so many other things that it could be? Stop for a minute and think about it. Write it down Start to identify the feelings behind why you turn to the food. And that will be your first step towards healing and getting past this need to eat. And then when you do that, guess what? The weight comes off because you're not eating to comfort yourself all the time. It's a beautiful cycle. It's a beautiful healing process that starts from here and manifests on your body. In my case, in the loss of 200 pounds. That's a huge healing of body and spirit and mind together. And that's what I promote on my channel. I want you to see that when you have a healthy spirit, when you have a healthy mind, your body will also follow naturally. Now that we've acknowledged that it's there, and you can see that there is more to your eating than just a food problem, let's talk about how to break the cycle. Because it's not enough to just know that it's there. You need to do what you need to do to get healing and be released from the pain that's holding you back. So the first step is absolutely awareness, and you're aware now, and that's huge. The second step is finding healthier ways to cope. And a big part of that was journaling for me, because I started to be really honest about my feelings. I've always been a journaler, but I didn't really journal about those really hurtful, painful things that were hiding inside of me. And when I started stopping and wondering why I'm eating, and I would pray about it and find that, oh, I'm really feeling upset. I'm feeling like I did when I was in this relationship, or I'm feeling like I did back in this time in my life where I felt worthless or hopeless or defeated or unworthy of someone's love, or whatever the case may be. I started to become aware of the things that triggered me. And so journaling was huge to me. Every time I felt like I needed to eat when I wasn't hungry, I stopped, thought about it, or prayed, and I'd start to write it down. And this was a game changer for me, because I started to recognize the emotions over and over again that were repeating themselves. Then I would do something to release that negative energy, like go for a walk, maybe dance a little bit, maybe do a little bit of a workout once I got to that point in my weight loss journey, something to physically get myself out of that mood. Or I would do something that would distract me, like crossword puzzles or knitting and crocheting. I did that a lot. Coloring, I did that a lot. And so many other things you can do with your hands that keep your hands and your mind busy. My biggest one, learning languages, that was a game changer for me. So think about it. When you are thinking about food and you put another language in your head and you start to work on that other language, it takes up a lot of thinking space and you forget about the food. I also joined a network of overeaters who were a fantastic support group, and taught me that I wasn't the only person in the world who had this problem. Because the one thing with us overeaters is we think we're alone. We isolate ourselves. We get rid of our friends and family because we're so ashamed of ourselves. And because of that, because we withdraw into this dark place, we don't see that we're really not alone. This world is full of people in pain and trying to eat their way out of the pain. And that is the truth. Look in the comments. How many of you are there? 6,500 subscribers right now. That's a lot of people who joined my channel in 2 months. So you are not alone. You're not the only one. Talk to each other. Help each other. Talk, reach out and say, I need help, because you do help each other. And I'm always there in the comments too, as soon as I can be. So use these support networks online. Join Facebook communities, join online communities, whatever it is that is going to help you, because you're not alone. And you need to know that you are not the only person suffering in this horrible way. And that in itself is such a relief to know. It is so comforting to know that other people not only have been there, but they got out of it. It's huge. So please think about this part of it. It will make a huge difference to you. Next, be kind to yourself. I know as an overeater, we tend to beat ourselves up constantly. I looked at things I had done decades ago and I dwelled on them, about what a terrible person I am because at the age of 20 I did such and such, or I said this to this person and it really broke them. wow, did I ever beat myself up? And I remembered every little wrong I've ever done. And one day I realized, Easter, you never think of anyone else like that. Why do you treat yourself like that? Why can't you just realize that you're a good person too? And my version of God tells me I'm worthy of love and kindness and goodness. So maybe I am. Maybe I have to start here. Maybe I should say to myself, well, when other people are hurting, what do? I make sure to do everything I can to make sure they feel better. So why can't you treat yourself the same way? That was my question to myself. And I challenge you to ask that of yourself. If you're someone who feels disgusted with yourself, angry with how you've handled life, you feel defeated, you've done everything wrong, is that really true? Because I bet you've had a lot of good things that you've done for other people, good things, good ways you've influenced other people, kind gestures, little text messages or phone calls when somebody needed it and you were tired, but you did it anyways. Think of how you would treat a friend who's in a bad position, and please treat yourself like that, because you're not in a good position right now, and you need to be kind and loving to yourself to help yourself get up out of the ashes, come out of isolation, come out of that dark place you're in, and look towards the sunlight, because it's there waiting for you. Learning to love yourself is a slow process, but little by little, as you follow along in my videos and I teach you all these little habits that I implemented to achieve this, you're going to see yourself change, and it won't happen overnight. You're not going to wake up and tomorrow and say, wow, I really love myself. But 6 months from now, you're going to wake up and say, I really have a different attitude than I used to have 6 months ago. And I kind of feel better about myself. And I don't think I'm as bad as I used to think I was. And it just keeps growing from there until you can say, I'm doing my best and I'm proud of it. And that's where I am right now. I do my best and I'm proud of it. Do I make mistakes? Yes. Do I mess up? Yes. But do I beat myself up for the next 3 years for it? 30 years for it? No. I deal with it. I release it. I let it go and I move on. And that's the way it's supposed to happen. My channel is focused on healing from the inside out, so let me leave you with a few tips before we wrap this up to help you set up a few tools that you can have in place when you feel like turning to food for comfort. Tip number 1, start a food journal. We talked about it, but as soon as you feel that urge to eat, write it down. Identify, am I hungry or not? If you're really hungry and it's mealtime, that's fine. You can still journal it. But if you've had your meal and it's really far away from mealtime and your stomach isn't hungry and you're looking in the cupboards for food and you're going to the fridge for food and you stop and you say, oh, okay, this is what Easter's talking about. I'm going to write it down now and start to get to the bottom of what it is that you're dealing with and what's triggering you. Food journals are invaluable. And it's just a matter of on one side saying the emotion I feel, on the other side saying the food I felt like eating and didn't eat, hopefully. Number 2, create a support system for yourself, friends, family, online communities, our comment section. I've gone over some of the other resources, so please think about doing that. It makes a huge difference because you are not alone, and you need to know that. You need to really understand you're not alone. And there are people who will not only tell you they've been there, but they can encourage you and inspire you and help you out of this place. Tip number 3 is huge for me. Lean on your faith, whatever your faith is. And I say this over and over again, but you could believe in the universe, the light, love, aliens, Mother Nature, God, gods, whatever your version of our Creator is, please lean into that. Because when you have that pain and you want to release that pain and you release it to whatever you believe in, even if it's your gut feeling or that still small voice inside you, and you say, I need to let go of this and I need it to be healed, guess what? The healing comes because you're letting go and giving it to something outside of yourself, and you're actually releasing it in a tangible way, and you're making the firm decision that you just don't want it anymore. And that's how you heal. People get really caught up on this, But it's not about rules. It's not about religion. It's not a religious thing. It's a spiritual thing. It's a thing about the core of who you are, reaching out to whatever it is that you connect with, inside or outside of you. I hope that makes sense, and I hope it resonates for you. Number 4, celebrate every small win you have, whether you start drinking 2 liters of water a day, whether you decide to start a food journal, whether you've made a few food journal entries, whether you turned away from the fridge that time. Celebrate, be proud of yourself, tell yourself good job, and keep celebrating those things, because if you focus on what you're doing positively, it really does distract you from feeling negative about yourself. And it does drive you towards that self-love I always talk about. And that's so key to where I want you to end up at the end of this. And remember, your journey is not about perfection. It's about progress. And progress may not come fast because, let's face it, when, like me, you have a lot of extra weight, it took years for me to put that weight on, and it took me 23 months to lose it. And that's a long time. That was a long journey. It felt like at the time. But now that I look back, it feels like the blink of an eye. I feel like it just went by in an instant, and I would do it again. I would so do it again, because it was a joyful journey. It was so terrifying before I started it. But once I started it, and I started those small little celebrations of victories and those acknowledgments of having done something good for myself, and then those little acts of kindness towards myself, and journaling and praying and meditating and walking, and then physical fitness eventually, my goodness, I just burst forth with this shining light inside me that I couldn't contain. My energy just went to this insane level because I am so freaking happy all the time. Getting rid of that pain and healing was the best thing I ever did. And I'm almost thankful that I gained all that weight, because it made me turn around and look at what drove me to do it. I never would have had the healing without it. So as kooky as it sounds, I'm actually thankful that I got to be that weight so that I could have the healing that I have today. That might sound backwards, but it's true. So maybe be thankful for where you are right now, because you're going to come out of it and you're going to be on the other end and see the blessing that the healing brings you. If you've made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. If it's resonated with you and you feel that you are an emotional eater, leave a comment down below. I'll be sure to get back to you and let me know what you're struggling with, if you're comfortable putting it in the comments, and we can move forward together one day at a time. Don't forget to leave me a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And please, if there's someone you know who needs to hear this message, send it to them so they can have some hope too. And as always, I will be back with much more very soon.